Let's get into it. All right. Well, you did a friendly chat yesterday, Ansem, so we're going to have another friendly chat today. It's going to be great. We're talking about trending things, trending on Twitter, on tokens, hashtag, drop the ticker. We're not going to be doing that, don't worry. No, we're going to be talking about how to identify, maybe as part of like a trading strategy or something along those lines for people out there that are getting into crypto. And really crypto, I mean, it's a lot of buying and selling coins, right? So we're going to talk about like just trending things in general, maybe social media and all that sort of stuff. But maybe I think everyone kind of realizes that you're tweeting a lot. And how do you identify, like, what are the trending things at the moment, narratives that are maybe getting into them before they're a thing? Like, how do you sort of look at that and go, yeah, that's going to be a thing, or no, that's not going to be a thing?
Yeah, I have a few different ways. I think where my starting point usually is I have a list, essentially, of all the different, like, market segments in crypto. So high level, there's like L1s, which is stuff like Ethereum, Solana, L2s, rollups. Then there's DeFi, like real world assets, DePIN, all these different market segments, essentially. And I have a list of different coins that are in all these different segments. And I do research on those, like starting from there fundamentally. But how I find trades, the best trades that I take usually are the ones where a coin is like high on my like fundamentals, like I guess research.
What is that? Like, what is something that would rank highly on fundamentals? Because I guess a lot of us are like, well, this has fundamentals, and that also says that it has fundamentals,
Yeah.
right? Like, what actually is that?
It's definitely very subjective, depending on how you come to the conclusion on your own. But for me, like Solana was a really good trade last year. Part of the reason for it was like it's more performant than ETH. It's cheaper than ETH during transactions. So there's just a lot more apps that could build on Solana that you can't build on ETH. And I like stayed up to date with all the technological advancements that got passed in 2022. That when Solana had issues with congestion, they fixed a lot of those. But on the flip side of it, it's like if your fundamentals are solid and high and your attention is low, like the public perception is low. So like Solana last year, nobody was really bullish on Solana. So there was it was disjointed between those two things, and those are always the best trades. Like when people aren't paying attention to this, but the fundamentals are solid. And it's the same way in crypto, like spotting rotations early before they happen, it's the same type of thing. Like right now, memes are in front of everybody's mind, super high on attention, but before Bonk happened, nobody really was talking about meme coins. It was Pepe, and maybe people thought about Doge last cycle, but nobody was really thinking like, yeah, memes are gonna be a big thing this cycle. But for me, when Solana popped off, whenever an L1 does really well and on-chain activity starts to go up, what people do is they're going to look for beta to the L1 coin. And I was like, well, Bonk is one of the biggest altcoins on Solana, so people are obviously going to look at that first. And that's how I had the idea that I think memes are going to pop off, especially since you have a reference point last cycle of Doge doing really well, SHIB doing really well, Floki doing really well. So that's generally, I would say, yeah, it's like trading attention, I think, is kind of what people call it, but you also need the fundamental research to back that.
Yeah, right. And you mentioned before about looking at the tech, and so certainly during the bear market there were changes in the tech that were being made. But how do you discern of what's a change in the tech that is actually going to result in number go up versus not? Because okay, we got like 1,000 blockchains out there, right?
Yep.
We've got a lot of devs talking about ZK rollups and a billion L2s, and yeah, hey, this tech is really cool, but just having cool tech doesn't make something actually pop off. So like, is there a way to sort of, I don't know, do you look at something and go, yeah, actually I'd use that? Or, yeah.
I would say it's two main things. I would say the first is being an active user of all these protocols. So I'd use basically every new app that comes out in crypto. I'm probably one of the first persons to use it, whether that's on Solana or some other chain. And I also bridge my funds across different L1s. So I have that as my starting point, like my actual user experience with the chain, with all these different protocols. So I know firsthand whether this is actually solid, whether this is like people are just talking about it and saying that it's solid. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, yeah, like you said, you can have really good tech, But if you don't have attention, distribution, marketing on the other side of it, nobody's really going to know about it. So that has to be factored into your trades, because if nobody even knows that this exists, it's not going to be a thing, not going to blow up. And with Solana, for me, I just knew the Solana community really well, just from being active, going to events like these, going to Breakpoint, talking to founders, talking to traders, and I just knew there was a strong community around Solana. So whenever things turn, as they do in bull markets, I was like expecting attention to flow back pretty easily. And it's the same way with like altcoins in different market segments. Like artificial intelligence is another good one. So there's a ton of attention on AI right now, external to crypto. So if there's any projects that do come out, like crypto-specific protocols, you can bet pretty easily, like if they're solid, then people are going to like turn their attention there.
Yeah, and I guess the question is, if it's about attention, memes certainly get the attention, right? Because, okay, it's a picture with a dog in a hat.
Yeah.
But can they sustain? And maybe, the argument would be, a project with real fundamentals can sustain longer because they have real stuff going on, versus a meme that, cool, like, look at GIFs from like 10 years ago that were memes. They're kind of cringe at the moment, right?
Yeah.
It's not really going to be a long-term thing. And then the bet is, okay, how long-term is it? So is it a case of, and then you get a proliferation of these memes because everyone's like, wow, okay, a dog with a hat. How about like a kangaroo with a hat? and then you get just like, a million of these things, and then it kind of reduces in value, right? So is it like I don't know, does it kind of destroy itself or come back again and sort of flip back in the next cycle?
Yeah, I would definitely say that memes are the riskiest altcoins in crypto for sure. Like a lot of them do go to zero, especially the ones that start super low. It's like hard for 100K, 200K market cap coins to sustain like buying and selling from people. But I will say that I think Dogecoin is an example of a meme that sustained itself over multiple cycles. So if you look at the top like 50 altcoins back in 2013 or 2015, most of those coins are not there anymore. But Dogecoin comes back every single cycle. And that's because of it's like a provenance thing almost. Like it's very native to crypto. Like the same way people think about Bitcoin, they think about Dogecoin in the same way. It's been around for a long time. So there are some memes that kind of reach escape velocity where it's like they're just so well known that people always come back to them. And I think there's going to be some of those this cycle as well. But yeah, for the most part, it's hard for all memes to just stay around.
Yeah, exactly. And well, over the last 7 months, really, Solana has been a place for all sorts of different trading, right? Not just memes, but all sorts of stuff. And now I think volumes, usually on the day, it's usually higher 24-hour volume on Solana than Ethereum, even with a TVL that's way less.
Yep.
What do you think the reason is for that? Some people are like, oh, it's the UX, and like the wallets are really easy to use. Is it as simple as, hey, there's some devs out there which made a really cool, like, slick dashboard? Or is it like fundamentally, I guess, yeah, the fees thing, people talk about fees, but Ethereum people will say, oh, but if we're all getting rich, it's okay to pay $200 for a transfer as long as I can make $400 on a thing.
Yeah.
And do you think that actually holds weight, or?
I think I would say the reason that Solana has done so well recently with trading volume comparable to ETH is because it's great for new people to crypto. So if you don't have any crypto, then you're not going to be wanting to pay $10, $20 a swap, $50 a swap when stuff is popping off like it does on ETH. But on Solana, you don't have that issue. So people who literally can get sent $10 to their Phantom or a backpack wallet, they can immediately trade whatever with no restriction. I think it does the argument that people are willing to pay high fees to trade if they think it's good, like risk reward, is definitely valid, but it's only valid for people who already have a ton of money in crypto.
Right.
And the reason that works, like that argument has worked so well the past few years is because that was basically who everybody was talking to. It was people who had been in Ethereum since 2014 or 2017 and had a super low cost basis, so they didn't care about paying $100, $200 like a swap or whatever for their fees over a month. Because they're trying to make, like 6 figures on a trade. Whereas not everybody's trying to do that. I think it's a different setup with Solana.
Yeah, and okay, a lot of these new projects, the way that they launch is also quite different. Like it used to be back in the day, that you would launch on a centralized exchange, and then, hey, when DEXs came along, it's like, cool, that token now exists on a DEX. And then some people now, it's the airdrop meta as well, right? So, okay, an airdrop is how coins get into circulation. I think other times, like we've got the Meteora, like DLMM pools and stuff like that, okay, you can like buy it from there, or Radium, a lot of these things were Radium pools. So the way that a token launches, is that actually that relevant, do you think, or it's kind of just still goes back to the attention?
I think it's definitely relevant. A lot of the discussion people have had this cycle is like around high FDV coins, meaning high fully diluted value, versus the circulating market cap is much lower. And that happens when you have only a small amount of the total tokens in circulation that people can trade, and then VCs or the team or some other entity have a lot more tokens, but they're just locked up for a certain amount of time. So the FDV of the project can be like 5x, 10x more than the circulating market cap. And for retail, it's like, well, we didn't get the price that everybody else got. They have way more tokens than us, so why would I want to buy this coin? And I think the community distribution aspect in crypto is huge, because crypto is like focused on that, being like more community oriented just in general. And the reason that a lot of people like meme coins is because you have the devs, obviously, who are launching the coins, but a lot of the time, the supply is just immediately 100% circulating to the community.
Yeah, right.
So it's like everybody got basically the same fair shot if you saw the coin when it launched, or if you saw it trading at whatever low market cap. That's why a lot of people like memes. But I would say it's definitely important. Like, teams that do their airdrop really like well in early stages, they build their community super, super strong.
And what is a good airdrop? Because I guess a good airdrop is when number goes up and then no one's mad. But if number doesn't go up, then everyone gets mad. And it's like, bro, actually no one guaranteed you a number, right? But like, what is, and also maybe would you agree that an airdrop is like a one-shot thing? Like, you don't get a second airdrop often, or if you do, people just insta-dump it. Do you think like an airdrop is a valid mechanism to launching, but perhaps only with the parameters, like you said, of like 100% circulating supply or something like that?
I think airdrops are definitely valid, and I think a lot of teams should definitely continue to use them. The issue with airdrops currently is kind of fixing the Cybele problem, which is like when one person will make 1,000 wallets, use the protocol before it has a token, and then they'll get the airdrop from 1,000 different wallets. The way that you fix that is by making the airdrop more linear. So it's like, if I had $100 in 100 different wallets versus having $10,000 in one wallet, those 100 wallets versus that one wallet would get the same portion of the airdrop. So there's been a lot of teams kind of focusing more on making their airdrops more linear. It kind of evens the field that people with small amounts of capital get basically the same as people with large amounts of capital, which is why there's kind of a mix that teams do. I think Jito did a really good job of kind of focusing on their early users, because their points program was short. So it was like, if you had been in Jito using the protocol for a while, you kind of were already there, and there wasn't really that situation where a ton of people are trying to Cybele it, because it was just literally core users of Solana and Jito. So they did really well with that, but it is hard to do. I don't think 100% is really reasonable, honestly, because a lot of these teams do have VC funding, and the VCs obviously have to get paid for funding these teams. But in some cases, it can happen. Like Frentech, which is an app on Base, like the L2, they did 100% airdrop to all their users. But the reason they were able to do that is because they make a ton in fees off the app. So VCs were getting paid from that. The team was getting paid from that. They didn't really care about the token, because like they're already making money in other ways. So there's definitely like a scale, but I think like 10% plus is usually good for airdrop.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I guess what we're talking about there as well, like raising money and that sort of thing. I think you mentioned, was it yesterday, that you're doing more angel investing now, or potentially looking at it. What are sort of the things that you're looking for, or sort of interesting deals, interesting sectors? Like if someone's out there, they're building a really cool app, it's the best thing in the world, you want to go and talk to Ansem, like what are you actually looking for, and how should people approach that?
That's a good question. A few different things. I think the areas that are most interesting to me right now, first one is consumer. So I think consumer-focused applications in crypto is kind of a wide description. It can be literally anything, but I'm looking for apps that are doing new things that don't currently exist in the crypto ecosystem. So not like replicas of things that currently exist. I think, honestly, a lot of the DeFi protocols, we kind of have the base layer of what we need on most L1s. And then I would say that the second thing is probably like AI. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but I know the intersection of AI and crypto is going to be big this cycle and obviously next cycle.
Yeah, right. And I guess building on that, the fat protocol thesis has been one thing where people say the infrastructure's got a lot of the valuations for the last 4 or 5 years. Everyone's funding all of these L2s.
Exactly.
And then people are like, okay, what about the apps built on top of them? Like, isn't it the case that, okay, Amazon they sell servers and that sort of thing, but they also, they built their $1 trillion company off having an amazing shipping company. Like, you could maybe view that as an app. Same way, maybe Facebook is a better example, right? It's an app that runs on the internet. So do you subscribe to this fat protocol thesis where the apps should actually accrue more value than the underlying L2s? Or, yeah.
I do. I think the pendulum is swinging more in that direction. If we're like fat protocol versus, what's the other one, fat?
It's like I don't know, the infrastructure accrues all of the value that is the same as all of the apps combined.
I forget what it's called, but if infra is here and apps are here, we're like way over here, maybe swinging back this way a little bit. Yeah. Because a lot of the infra is just super easy to get funded, has been super easy to get funded the past few years. It's like, oh, I know if I do a L2 round at whatever, 50 mil, I know I'm immediately going to get a markup at 500 mil or a bill or whatever. And a lot of these VCs who have been funding these protocols have been investing with that mindset, especially since Solana did really well last cycle. A lot of L1s came out at super high valuations this cycle, like multi-billion immediately off the gate. But the thing is, if you don't have any applications on these L1s, why are they commanding a $2-3 billion valuation? And I think a lot of people are starting to think that way now, which is why I think you're going to see a lot more focus on the application layer. It's just those are much harder to fund and support, because it's a lot harder for applications, I think, to be successful than it is for L1 to sell dreams of we're going to be the greatest infra ever. Yeah,
and how do you value that? Because I guess in the DeFi world, one way to value things is TVL, right? And then there's a question of, is TVL a meme? And another one is maybe users, right? Or number of transactions or something like that. But then you'll have a bunch of bots that will just do 1 billion transactions, go, hey, we have 1 billion users. Hey, you probably don't. But how do you value these apps that come on chain? Like, what would be a good one versus a bad one? Does it come back to attention or some form of utility in some way? Like you mentioned friend tech, like that was kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
How do you value these apps?
It's a great question. Trying to figure that out now because I'm doing the investing. I know how to do trade.
Does anyone know?
Yeah.
Put your hand up in the audience.
Right, yeah. I would say a lot of it is retention focus. I think one of the good applications on Solana is Drip, which is really cool. Essentially, it's a marketplace where there's a ton of different artists. They release their content or their art, and if you subscribe to these artists, you get airdropped or dripped their art to your wallet. So it's kind of similar. Not that similar to OpenSea, like some other NFT marketplaces, but they've done a really good job of onboarding net new people onto Solana, and they track all of their metrics where it's like, okay, this wallet started with 0, we gave them a little bit of whatever, then they started using Drip, and after they started using Drip, they started using other applications in crypto. And I think that's really powerful if you have something that doesn't cost a lot for users to interact with, and then it also gets them involved with a lot of different other areas in the crypto space.
I guess the question is, we all have Solana wallets, I think, out there, and we get 1 million spam NFTs of these different things. So then you open the can of worms of, okay, if we have projects that are, say, airdropping or releasing NFTs or doing whatever, how do we know a real one from a fake one? We have AIs generating, crazy stuff and images and stuff now. So do you think that problem gets worse over time of maybe trying to sift through the thousands of things which come out and try and find the actual winners amongst all of the sort of trash?
Yeah, I mean, I get sent stuff all the time, and people don't even really know which wallets are mine. But I think it's going to be on the protocols on Solana to kind of vet which tokens are solid, which NFTs are solid. And I think Jupiter does this really well. They have a list of tokens that they kind of approve, their approved list of tokens, where it's if you enter some other random contract address, they literally will tell you, we have not approved this token. Yes, it's tradable in Solana, but it's not in our official list of tokens. I think that's pretty common. Teams like Jupiter and other teams do that, where it's if you're buying something that's extremely risky, they'll tell you.
Yeah. And coming back to some of the platforms as well, we've mentioned a few already, but what are some of the platforms that you're using every day, or like why do you use them? And does that help in discovery of new stuff? It could be Twitter, it doesn't have to be crypto stuff, or DEXs or whatever it might be.
Yeah, the most frequently used is Jupiter for me. I do a lot of DEX on-chain trading. MarginFi I use for like lending and borrowing. What else? Uniswap 2 on ETH. A ton of different protocols, honestly. I'm not as big on the NFT side of things.
Why is that?
I'm not good at trading NFTs.
Okay.
I'm good at trading tokens, but I've never been good at trading NFTs. I always see, like I remember last cycle, people were super big on NFTs. People told me to buy punks at like 10K, 15K, and I was like, why would anybody ever buy that worth $10,000? I'm never doing that. And then they went to like millions. I'm like, okay, well, I clearly don't know what I'm doing here. But yeah, I don't good at NFTs.
I mean, that's a good point. Like, maybe meme coins and NFTs, at least in my opinion, like, don't they kind of overlap some way where it's like a dog with a hat? Like, it's a funny community, it's a funny, like, picture, right? And then people can make all sorts of other content based on that. But that's kind of also NFTs.
Yeah.
I guess NFTs just don't have the liquidity, or, it's an auction sort of style to get rid of them, right? So number go up or number go down kind of depends on, hey, I could list my NFT and like no one buys it, whereas at least with a token, I can press the sell button and there's always a bid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think they're similar, the memes and NFT sort of side of things?
I do think they're similar. I've actually kind of talked about this a few times. I think memes have the aspect where if you have a super strong community, and anybody can meme the token, so stuff like With, stuff like Michi, where it's like anybody can edit the dog with a hat, put a different hat on it, or like put a hat on somebody else. It's super easy for anybody to meme. So it's like you have all these profiles on Twitter that are literally PFPs, but it's not an NFT collection. It's just the meme edited with whatever people wanted on it. So in that way, you have that community aspect. But the thing is, with meme coins, you can have way, way, way bigger communities. NFTs are usually limits like 10K or like 20K, whatever it is. And they're also a lot more liquid. So it's like, I do think in the future, you're going to kind of see an intersection there where it's like memes will have their own official NFT collection, and then the NFT collections will have some kind of like fractionalized form of the NFT where you can trade it more like easier. Because I hate being illiquid, honestly. It's one of the reasons I don't like NFTs.
It's kind of making non-fungible tokens fungible again.
Yeah.
Like if we fractionalize them, right? So,
it's actually funny, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a few moments left here. I think some people in the audience, in fact, I think we spoke about this yesterday when you were talking about like your social media account journey and stuff as well, where you grew from 100K to 400K followers. And there's probably quite a few people in the audience as well that are like, hey, I want to grow my social presence. What are some of the strategies to do that? Or what are some of the strategies not to do? I guess like we see a lot of people just like making a factual statement as the post, like this DEX did $1 billion, and then expecting everyone to like and retweet it. Like, but you obviously, you provide sort of original ideas with your posts as well. So do you think there's like a middle ground between maybe, like how do you go about growing an account? Is it like, when we say providing value to your community, what does that mean?
I wish I knew, honestly. I never started my Twitter with the intention of growing it to a lot of followers. So people ask me a lot, like, how do I grow my Twitter? And I honestly don't really know that well because I didn't really plan to do it. I would say that what people have told me that they like a lot about my account, though, is I'm pretty genuine and transparent with everything that I share. It's like whether I share an idea that's right, whether I share an idea that's wrong, I like share my thought process behind why I thought it was wrong, why I thought it was right. And you can go back and fact check anything that I posted. I actually took the trades that I'm talking about. I'm not like saying, oh, I'm gonna buy this, and I'm immediately selling it like right after I post about it. I don't do that. I think a lot of accounts do that, and that's why they're like people don't trust them as much. So yeah, I would definitely say that that's a big thing. And then also just like interacting with people as much as you can. Before my account was smaller, I used to reply to every single reply that I got. Like every DM that I got, I would reply to. Every comment on my tweet, like most, I would reply to. And a lot of people remember that. Like they were like, yeah, dude, when you had 3K followers back in 2020, you would reply back and forth to me. And then when you had 100K, you were still replying back and forth to me. I only had like 50 followers. And a lot of people remember that. It's just like, I feel like I have kind of a community of people on Twitter now that respect me in that way. But it's just being genuine and talking to people, honestly. And then like literally the content that you share, obviously if it's good content, like if the trades are solid, people are gonna respect your account more. It's like, I hit this, I hit this, I hit this. Like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. So that's another reason.
Yeah, I think it's about being honest and genuine in your interactions, and yeah, that's exactly what you're saying there. So we're at time now, but thank you so much, Ansem. If you want to go and see Ansem, definitely go and mob him over there. It's okay. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom.
Cool, thanks, man.
Cheers.